Hello everyone, my name is Nidhi Anand. Today I will be throwing light on chapter number 3 of Bhagavad Gita. The title of this chapter is Karma Yoga, or the path of action. Like we had discussed in the previous chapter, in which the contents of Gita was summarized, Arjun had posed his confusion regarding whether to fight or not fight with his own family members. In this chapter, the verse 1 and 2 start with Arjun's confusion further ahead, in which he asks Lord Krishna that if intelligence is better than performing action, then why should he indulge in fight, and that too with his own family members. So from verse 3 to 9, the emphasis has been laid on Nishkam Karma Yoga, and Lord Krishna explains this to Arjun, that Nishkam Karma Yoga, or performing action without expecting the results in return, is better for Arjun than the path of knowledge or Gyan Yoga, as Arjun is a Kshatriya and the prime duty of a Kshatriya is to fight or rule a country. In verse number 3, Lord Krishna states that there are two types of people. The first type of people are the Gyan Yogis, or people who are established in the path of knowledge, who renounce work and who are renunciants. And the second category of people are the Karma Yogis, who are well versed in the path of karma and who do the prescribed work as per their varnashram in the society. Verse number 4 and 5 talk about premature renunciation, and in this Lord Krishna states that premature renunciation of work is not recommended. That means that before any person is situated in the real state of renunciation, one should not give up action or work, because inaction is unnatural. This is so because the human tendency is to commit action, whether we eat, sleep, drink, talk, sleep, anything. Whatever we do, we are indulging in some sort of action. Therefore, inaction is not possible for the human beings. From verse 6 to 9, it has been explained that a person who externally renounces work, or who gives up his work or his prescribed duty, but internally he dwells on sense objects or sense enjoyments, can be called a pretender or a hypocrite. So it is better to perform the prescribed work and avoid bondage. From verse 10 to 16, Karam Kand and Karma Yoga have been explained. Karam Kand are basically the actions that are performed for various gains. Now, Karam Kand basically in Hinduism have been explained in the four Vedas, namely Rig Veda, Atharva Veda, Sama Veda and Yajur Veda. In Rig Veda, knowledge of the healthcare system and medicines have been given, which in Rig Veda has given birth to a subsystem called Ayurveda. In Atharveda, the knowledge of business, wealth and prosperity have given, which gives birth to a subsystem called Arthashastra, or economics in English. In Samved, the knowledge of aesthetics, music and dance, which brought great artistic history to India or Bharat, stems from Samved, and this gave birth to a system called Gandharva Veda. The fourth Ved, namely the Yajur Ved, has the knowledge of archery and warfare, which shaped the skills of many kings of Bharat or India, and from this stems a subsystem called Dhanur Veda. Now coming back to chapter number 3 of Bhagavad Gita, titled Karma Yoga, we were on verse 10 to 16. So in verse 10 and 11, it has been explained that happiness can be attained by sacrificing the yajna or performing the yajna, which in result ends to cooperation between men and demigods. In verse 12 to 13, it has been mentioned that a person should eat food which is first offered in sacrifice, otherwise he is a thief. This implies that whatever food we eat, ideally it should first be offered to God, so that all these sins that have been occurred in acquiring that food is removed and the food is purified, which spiritually purifies our system as well if we partake of that food. From verse 14 to 16, the cycle of sacrifice has been explained, and it has been stated that life becomes sinful without sacrifice. From verses 17 to 35, Nishkam Karma Yoga has been explained, which means performing actions without expecting any results in return to set the right example. So, from verse 17 to 19, it has been stated that a person who is self-realized soul, like we were discussing in the previous video, that a sthit pragya person or a self-realized soul, he does not need to work, but he works as an obligation without attachment. He works as an obligation due to the reason that he is a great personality and he sets an example in the society. So he works with an obligation, but he is detached in his action. From verse 20 to 24, examples of kings like Janak and even Lord Krishna has been mentioned, in which it has been stated that they are self-realized personalities. However, they engage in work to set example. As common people follow a great person, if a self-realized person who is not entitled to do any sort of action because he is self-realized does not do action, then even the ordinary men would follow that person and would renounce action, which will in turn lead them to bondage. From verse 25 to 29, a Karma Yogi has been explained that a Karma Yogi works with detachment. That means a person who is established in the path of action, he works with detachment and he doesn't disturb the ignorant men who think themselves the doers, which implies that a person who is well established in the path of karma, he works and he performs his duties with a sense of detachment, but he does not disturb the ignorant men, or he does not pinpoint to the ignorant men who think that they are the doers of their actions. From verse 30 to 32, it has been stated that working for Krishna has its own benefits, and the results of following and not following his orders have also been mentioned. From verse 33 to 35, it has been mentioned that a person should do one's own duty according to one's nature for purification instead of imitating others. Our nature is determined by the three modes of material nature, which are sattvic, rajasic and tamasic, and these are in turn determined by the food we eat, which is sattvic, rajasic or tamasic. So in verse 33 to 35, it has been explained that a person should do one's own duty according to one's own nature for purification rather than imitating anybody else. From verse 36 to 43, it has been mentioned that lust is the greatest enemy and a person must conquer lust to be able to rise spiritually. So from verse 41 to 43, it has been said that one can conquer lust by regulating the senses, which means by controlling the senses, and making the mind steady by deliberate spiritual intelligence. Verse 37 to 40 state that the lust, which is insatiable, causes material entanglement. It covers knowledge and influences in 3 degrees, and therefore verses 41 to 43 have advised that a person can conquer lust. It is not impossible to conquer lust. It is a bit difficult. However, one can conquer lust by regulating or controlling the senses and making the mind steady by deliberate spiritual intelligence. This is the end of chapter 3 titled Karma Yoga. Please forgive me for any incorrections that I committed while imparting this information from this particular chapter. Like I stated before, Srimad Bhagavad Gita is a very vast spiritual book, and it is humanly impossible to pinpoint each and every detail that is mentioned in the Gita, but I would urge everybody to read Bhagavad Gita at least once in their life so that they can really transform their life and lead a blissful life. Thank you so much.